Morning, Leader.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this special meeting of the Executive on the 16th of July. Welcome you to the meeting and welcome members of the public. So I'll start straight away with item 1, which is apologies for absence, please, Rachel.
Thank you. We have apologies from Councillor Mrs Bradwell, who is going to be late.
Thank you. And item 2, any declaration of interest which anybody wishes to declare? Councillor McNally.
Thank you, Leader. The main agenda item, I've got a declaration on the pecuniary interest, and I'm going to have to leave the room, I'm afraid. I'll get a drink, I think.
Thank you for that. Item 3 then, are there any announcements that anybody wishes to make from the Executive or officers? There are none. Okay then, so we move on to the substantive item then, which is the draft Lincolnshire Minerals Waste Local Plan, which we did debate last month, and there was some unresolved information which we deferred a decision until that information was available to us. That information is, I understand, now available, and obviously it has been to the Scrutiny Committee last week, I believe. So I'll hand straight over to Councillor Davey.
Thank you, Leader. You have succinctly reminded members of the Executive that we looked at this item at the last meeting, and obviously we deferred it back for resolution on some issues that were outstanding. So I'm going to hand straight over to Neil McBride, who will introduce the paper and take us through how those issues have been addressed in this committee report.
Obviously, we did debate this at length last month, so obviously I think really want to focus on the unresolved stuff which we had some concerns about. Thank you, Neil.
Thank you, Leader. Good morning, councillors. The report before the Executive today sets out the procedures for the second stage of the review of the Lincolnshire Minerals and Waste Local Plan. The plan is being updated to ensure that the Council has a local plan that is relevant and the policies are up to date for the plan period to 2041. As was outlined to the Executive at the June meeting, the Council is still in the early stages of the review of the local plan, and the approval is being sought to commence the first comprehensive public consultation of the preferred approach document to secure an updated Lincolnshire Minerals and Waste Local Plan. Concern had been raised that the supporting documents providing the evidence that sits behind the updated policies and site allocations were not available, and that all these documents should be provided to the Executive prior to the consultation commencing. The report before the Executive today incorporates all the supporting documents that are to be part of the consultation. In addition, concern was raised that part of the consultation period was to be within the school holidays. Approval is sought to start the consultation at the end of July for a period of 8 weeks for the whole of August and most of September, giving residents and communities sufficient time to review the documents and submit their comments. At the Scrutiny Committee last week, questions were raised by West Deeping Parish Council and Councillor Dilks, and full responses to these questions have been provided to the Executive this morning. The Minerals and Waste Local Plan covers the whole of Lincolnshire and is an important role of the plan is to ensure that there is an appropriate plan mechanism in place for the future delivery of minerals and waste sites across the county. Minerals provides the raw materials for growth, whether that is for residential development that district councils have targets for to deliver, or the county council that has a number of major highway schemes to bring forward, which also requires a significant amount of aggregates to deliver these schemes. An up-to-date local plan makes provision for this material to be excavated in suitable locations in a planned way, rather than the risk of speculative minerals and waste applications coming forward should the local plan not be updated in a timely manner. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you very much. I think Councillor Carrington, it was considered by Economy and Environment Scrutiny Committee. Is Councillor Carrington on screen? Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Good morning.
Chairman, my apologies for not joining you personally. We have a case of COVID in the household and I couldn't get a conclusive negative this morning. Hence, I'm joining you remotely. Members, I want to briefly summarise the deliberations of the Environment and Economy Scrutiny Committee regarding the Lincolnshire Minerals and Waste Local Plan preferred approach for updating the plan. As you have heard from Mr McBride, on the 9th of July, our committee convened to consider this matter as per your previous request, that officers return to scrutiny with all the information required to enable the committee to scrutinise this matter in depth and conclude whether we could be supportive of the report's recommendations. After hearing statements from various stakeholders, namely representatives of West Deeping Parish Council, representatives of the Minerals Extracting Company, Breedon, and local ward members, and following engaging in a very thorough debate, we unanimously agreed to support the recommendation as outlined in the report before you, as we are now confident that sufficient information had been gathered to proceed to the next stage of public engagement. The chairman of West Deeping Parish Council highlighted significant opposition locally to site SG17, emphasising public protests and support from prominent local officials. The Parish Council raised concerns about the ongoing impact of additional mining on community quality of life and the threat to the historic watermill and its associated water sources. The Planning and Estates Manager at Breedon, Ms Maria Cotton, provided assurances that the site had undergone multiple consultations and independent examinations adhering to due process. And Breedon stressed their commitment to ongoing engagement and adherence to independent recommendations. Now, the Minerals Extracting Company also voiced concerns about procedural fairness in previous meetings, but received further clarification on that from myself and the head of our legal services, Lisa Tremble, that the committee's actions were indeed within procedural bounds. We also heard from Councillor Ashley Baxter and Councillor Phil Dilks. They brought forward the community's long-standing opposition to further mineral extraction, specifically at the particular site, SG17, that has become what has been termed by them the apple of discord in relation to this report. Once again, they cited concerns about noise, dust, traffic, and the environmental impact, particularly on the River Welland and local water sources. And they questioned the necessity of site SG17, given the surplus in reserves and the distribution of mineral extraction sites across the county. Chairman, during the debate, key points were clarified. Firstly, the process for deallocation. This was a matter raised by objectors. However, changes to the plan can only be made through a formal statutory process with public engagement responses reviewed by the executive and indeed by the full council. Secondly, public engagement. A public engagement phase will run through the summer into September 2024, and all responses forming part of a formal package for those final recommendations. Thirdly, the matter of public and professional input, and we heard that both public and professional bodies' inputs will be included in the decision-making process, ensuring comprehensive consideration of this site and indeed all other aspects of the draft plan. And fourthly, impact on communities. Concerns were expressed about environmental, heritage and residential impacts. Those will be relayed after the consultation process to yourselves, the executive, and considered during the consultation and assessment phases. And Leader, I am also aware of a further document being tabled today, which contains specific responses to questions raised by the chairman of the parish council, and those were compiled by our leading officers following our last meeting. I would like to add at this point that in the interests of transparency and accountability as well as fairness, I believe that we have spent time discussing a particular location linked to particular interests of a community, and that is a positive demonstration of the democratic process. However, this happened really disproportionately in relation to other sites and communities which were included in the list of allocation within the draft local plan. And indeed, to some degree, it has to be said that whilst people are very free to express their views, the scrutiny panel really was the wrong forum for some of those objections, which perhaps were more suitable to a planning meeting, but all of which can be made in the formal public consultation, which we are recommending takes place. Therefore, I would like once again to clarify that the committee did not invite, either in this past meeting or at the one we held in June, either of the opposing parties with a view to obtain their views. Rather, in the interest of upholding the democratic process and the value of scrutiny, when approached by them as chairman of the committee, I approved their requests to address the committee in both meetings and afforded the local ward members the opportunity to attend and contribute in both meetings in relation to that particular topic. So in conclusion, Leader, I would say that after careful deliberation and a review of all the evidence presented to us, the committee is satisfied with the viability of progressing the preferred approach. We strongly recommend that the executive accepts the recommendations of this report, and looking ahead to the future, we anticipate that we will be receiving the outcomes of the public engagement phase, which would now follow, and that will be carried out in the coming weeks. Chairman, that concludes my report. Happy to take any questions from members, should there be any.
Thank you very much, Councillor Carrington, for that very thorough summary of your discussion. I know that your committee has very carefully considered this, and as you state, it's not just about one particular site, it's about the whole of the waste mineral plan, which we do need to proceed with for consultation in terms so we can actually move on and everybody will understand, residents and developers will understand the framework within which they will operate. So thank you very much for that. And as you stated, all of the debate nearly has been about one particular area, which is SG17, one site. And you know, I think as we debate now, I think it's important to remember there is, we are talking about going out to consultation. This is not a decision as to whether any particular site will be developed. It is merely the framework, and obviously then following the consultation, which we will welcome, obviously legitimate concerns will be considered, and then either through the final draft or indeed through the planning process, those concerns can be addressed. So I'll stop there, but I suppose the question is, obviously there was some further details which we requested at the last meeting. Can you just summarise that? I know we've had it all, so now can you just summarise what that was of the stuff that came later, please, Neil?
Yeah, certainly, Chairman. Sorry, Leader. So in terms of the documents that have come forward, they are listed in the executive report at the back in terms of the different appendices. I can go through those if you want me to list all those documents. I don't want them listing, just so that we are aware that they're. Yeah, so all the documents that support the public consultation have been included as appendices to the executive report.
I suppose the only question I've got, it was raised the fact that the original inclusion of SG17 within the previous plan or the current plan was unsafe. Can you just give us some reassurance on that? Because to me that's, and we did, members recall we got some pretty clear legal advice as to the way forward, and I think as Councillor Carrington has said, if sites were to be removed, we have to go through a consultation. But I just want to be clear that the original inclusion of that site was safe and sound.
Yes, certainly. So that local plan process went through all the various stages within the council. It then went off to be examined by an independent inspector appointed by the Secretary of State from the Plan Inspectorate, who concluded that the plan was sound and that it could be progressed forward. So from that perspective, it was a sound and up-to-date local plan, and all the checks and balances needed to take place were done so.
Andy Gutherson.
If I could just add to that, Councillor Hill, in terms of the due process that's followed, if there was any significant or appropriate challenge to be made, that should have been made at that point in the process, because that has now been the adopted Minerals and Waste local plan that this authority has been continuing to make its planning decisions on the basis of for the last 6 years as a consequence of that being adopted.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, please? I think we have debated this at length, and we've had a very thorough report, both in writing and verbally, from the Scrutiny Committee, which are recommending that we approve the consultation of this document. And I think it's clear to stress this is a consultation. All we're doing is triggering an 8-week consultation. So I would certainly support that. So all those, the recommendations are on page 5 of your report. So we approve the preferred approach document, which has been attached, and authorise the head of planning to make any non-material amendments to the document, etc., subject to any errors or feedback we've had. So all those in favour of that recommendation, please now show. Thank you. That is unanimous. So thank you for that, for your attention. So we can now start the consultation process, and of course we will be very interested in the feedback we receive and so on in the 8 weeks that now proceed. So with that, that concludes the meeting. Thank you for your attendance, and hopefully the rain will stop soon. You never know.